Chapter 1, Ashes Remember. The wind howled across the skeletal remains of what used to be Lahore, only now, they called it Zone Ash 17. Concrete ribs of buildings jutted from the scorched earth like the bones of a giant long since dead. Smoke never really left the sky. It just changed color. Commander Reza Armitage stepped over the rusted spine of a collapsed monorail. His boots crushed shards of black glass, once a window, now memory. Behind him, 3 figures emerged from the shadows. Ex-military, like him. Each wore patchwork armor salvaged from better days. Their rifles were cobbled together from old Terran ballistics and stolen alien coil tech. In this war, everything was borrowed, time most of all. "Radiation's low today," muttered Juno, the squad's scout. Her voice crackled through Reza's comlink. "Lucky us," Reza replied, not slowing. "Maybe we'll die the slow way." They were heading towards sublevel 9 of an abandoned Terran weapons research vault. The place had been sealed for nearly a century. Rumors said it held the last failed prototype from Project Genome 9, the one weapon Earth had built that scared even its creators. Nobody ever said what it did. Reza didn't care about myths. He was hunting leverage. Something, anything, to prove Earth wasn't dead yet. At the access hatch, KG, the squad engineer, pried open the seal with a hiss of ancient hydraulics. A metallic scent flooded out, sharp and clean, like the inside of a surgical bay. "Smells like ghosts," Juno muttered, sweeping her rifle forward. They descended carefully. The tunnel walls were lined with flickering lights, some still running on long-dead backup power. The deeper they went, the quieter it got. Not the comforting kind of quiet. The kind that presses against your lungs. Halfway down, they found bones. Human. Recent. KG knelt beside them. Uniforms council black. Scouts. Reza's jaw tightened. "So they do care. Think they found it?" Juno asked. "Doesn't matter," Reza said. "We're finding it now." They reached the core chamber, a circular vault sealed by triple lock doors. The air shimmered faintly, distorted by residual shielding fields. KG hacked the console. Sparks flew, the door screamed open an inch at a time. Inside, a pedestal. On it, a sealed cryocapsule, humming faintly. Labeled and stenciled, half-erased letters. Genome 9, status, dormant. Warning, adaptive class biohazard. Juno whistled low. "Looks like it's still breathing." Reza approached. His gloved hand touched the glass. A pulse fluttered inside the gel, like a heartbeat with no body. "KG. Scan it." KG pulled out an old Terran scanner. It beeped erratically. "This thing isn't human," he whispered. "It's us, but more. Rewritten. Adaptive RNA, chaos mapping, fusion genome, God, it's built to change." "Into what?" Juno asked. KG looked up. "Whatever survives." Suddenly, static burst through their comms. A high-pitched screech. Then a voice, cold, robotic, unmistakably alien. "Terran lifeforms detected in restricted zone. Extermination protocol initiated." Son of a, Reza swung his rifle. Outside, the earth trembled. Distant explosions. Skyfire. The enemy had arrived. "They tracked us here," KG said. "No," Reza said flatly. "They've been watching. Just waiting for us to touch it." Juno ran to the viewport. Her eyes widened. 4 ships descending. Council-grade destroyers. "They're not here to negotiate." Reza stared at the capsule. "Then we hold." "You want to fight?" KG said. "Against that?" No, Reza's voice was steady. "We make them afraid of what's buried here." He turned to Juno. "Get this thing ready for extraction." KG, prep defensive charges. "And you?" Juno asked. Reza shouldered his rifle and looked up toward the trembling ceiling. I'm going to remind them why they left us for dead the first time. 30 minutes later, the vault was a fortress. Turrets scavenged from drone husks were fused to the walls. Charges were buried along the corridors. Genome 9's capsule was mounted on a grav sled, now tethered to Juno's pack. She kept glancing at it like it might wake up. Reza stood at the entrance as the council troops descended, sleek silver armor, glowing blue visors, weapons that hissed plasma with every step. Behind them, in orbit, a capital ship loomed. The lead officer spoke in a guttural translator dialect. "Surrender the artifact and disband. You are trespassing on technology quarantined by the Galactic Council." Reza stepped forward, face calm, voice sharp. "This artifact belongs to Earth." The officer's weapon rose. "Earth belongs to no one. It is a dead world." Reza smiled. "Then why are you so scared of its ghosts?" He opened fire. Chaos erupted. Juno dragged the sled through a service tunnel as KG triggered the first blast. The ceiling collapsed. Reza fought like a machine, every shot placed, every motion practiced. Not for glory. For time. 10 minutes in, Council forces were already bleeding. They'd underestimated the terrain, the desperation, the madness. At the final fallback point, Reza fired his last clip and ducked behind a steel beam. A voice came through the comms, clear, booming, inhuman. "Commander Reza Armitage. This is Archduke Virex 7. I commend your resistance. But Earth will not be spared." Reza laughed into his mic. "You think I'm here to win?" Silence. "I'm here to show you we never stopped fighting." He pressed the last detonator. The chamber above exploded, burying half the enemy squad and sealing the vault forever. Hours later, Reza limped through a jungle ravine. Blood trickled from his side. His arm was scorched. But he was alive. So was the artifact. Juno helped him onto the sled. "We made it," she said, more in disbelief than triumph. He looked up at the stars, 4 council ships in orbit, hovering. "They're not done," he muttered. "They're just scared now." She nodded toward the cryopod. "What do we do with it?" Reza wiped dirt from its surface, revealing the full project title etched faintly into the frame. Genome 9, Project, Adaptive Terran Evolution. He exhaled. "We finish what Earth started." Chapter 2, The Kill Order. Archduke Virex 7 watched the replay on a floating holoscreen, silent and still. The moment Reza Armitage detonated the vault, the council officers' screams were swallowed by collapsing stone. Virex didn't flinch. "This is not resistance," he said finally. "This is contamination." The war chamber aboard Sanctity's Spear, his flagship, fell quiet. Dozens of species held their breath. Some were elders, others new blood governors, but all deferred to the tall, silver-skinned warlord with molten eyes. "We deployed a level 3 squad," one general said. "Minimal resources." "Because they believe the myth," Virex growled. "That Earth is broken. That its people crawl. Instead, what do I see? A commander too injured to stand who still outmaneuvered us. A prototype too dangerous to destroy." He turned slowly, his armor whispering as he moved. "I will go myself." The room tensed. "You're descending?" a voice asked. Virex narrowed his eyes. "If I must bury the last Terran, I will do it with my own hands." Earth's jungle belt, once the Himalayan slopes, was now overgrown with mutant flora, soil enriched by chemical storms. It was here that Reza and his team dragged Genome 9 under night cover, weaving through broken terrain and overgrown railways. KG's shoulder was wrapped in cloth soaked with synthetic blood. Juno walked ahead, rifle at the ready. "I don't like this place," KG muttered. "You don't like clean air," Juno shot back. He managed a weak grin. "It's not clean. It's too quiet." Reza followed last, slower than usual. Each step came with a grimace. Pain had nested in his ribs, but he refused to limp. "We make for Echo Point," he said. "Old Com Tower. If it's still standing, we send a burst. Get the southern sectors on alert. You think anyone's left? Juno asked. Reza looked up. If they're breathing, they'll come. This thing, he tapped the sled holding Genome 9, will draw more than destroyers. Virex descended under cover of dusk. His elite guard, a trio of bioclad assassins, flanked him. Their boots made no sound on the moss-covered ruin. He landed in the crater Reza left behind. Charred metal. Bone fragments. Heat residue. Virex knelt, running a hand across the ground. A needle blinked in his palm. His internal systems calculated the data. Trace remains of genome destabilization, he said aloud. His guard glanced at each other. Virex smiled faintly. They activated it. At Echo Point, Reza's team encountered motion sensors still partially functional. With some coaxing and a few slapped cables, KG got the satellite rig working. Static buzzed. Then a flicker. A voice cracked through. New Dakar, status unknown, is that Commander Armitage? Reza grabbed the mic. This is New Bastion. We have the artifact. Enemy fleet present. Confirm. Repeat, Genome 9 is live. A beat. Then static again. More voices filtered through, confused, scattered, shocked. You just lit up the whole planet, Juno whispered. Good, Reza said. Let them come. We need every fighter we've got. They didn't have to wait long. The jungle split with the sound of fast-moving plasma drones. Green fire carved tree trunks in half. One clipped the sled, it spun sideways, shrieking. Scatter! Reza yelled, grabbing the sled cable. KG rolled into cover. Juno fired short, disciplined bursts, dropping 2 scouts. Reza ducked behind a boulder, heart thudding, vision narrowing. The drones weren't normal. Their hulls shimmered, adapting midair. New prototypes. Council had escalated. They're morphing. Juno shouted. Adaptive sensors. Reza thought fast. EMP nets. Now. KG rolled out a modified pulse grenade. He hurled it high. It detonated midair, showering the jungle in a blue ripple. The drones dropped like flies, twitching. Move! Reza barked. They reached the cliff above the river gorge. Reza pointed. Drop the sled. Into the water. It'll float downstream to Site Kilo. AI Vault will pick it up. Juno blinked. You sure? No. But if we're caught, I'd rather they chase ghosts than get the real prize. Juno shoved the sled over the edge. The capsule bobbed once, then slipped into shadow. Behind them, a voice echoed through a speaker. Deep, inhuman. You flee from inevitability. Reza turned. Archduke Virex stood at the treeline. Alone. Juno raised her rifle. No, Reza said quietly. This one's mine. Virex removed his helmet. Beneath, his face was glass-smooth, inhumanly symmetrical. A manufactured predator. You are Reza Armitage, he said. The stubborn. The ruined. The one they couldn't kill. Reza smiled coldly. You're the coward who sent children to die. Virex stepped forward, hands folded behind him. I offered mercy. Earth was unfit. You should have gone quietly. Reza's fingers closed around his weapon. Funny. That's what the last invader said. Virex moved first, fast, too fast. Reza barely parried the blow with his rifle. Sparks flew. They fought atop the cliff. Virex used brute strength, enhanced reflexes. Reza used grit, memory, pain as fuel. Every motion calculated, every step desperate. A blade pierced Reza's side. He dropped. Blood soaked his shirt. Humans always fall, Virex said. Yeah, Reza gasped, coughing red. But we don't die easy. He pulled the pin on a charge attached to Virex's belt, placed there during the scuffle. Beep. Flash. The explosion hurled them both apart. Virex rolled, armor smoking. Reza crawled toward the edge. Juno and KG dragged him back, yelling something he couldn't hear. His vision blurred. The last thing he saw was the capsule vanishing into the river bend, and Virex stumbling back into shadow, not dead. Not yet. Back aboard Sanctity's spear, Virex sat alone in his medical chamber. Half his face burned, left eye replaced with a temporary drone interface. He stared at a blinking light on the display. Genome 9, unsecured. Active status, mobile. He clenched his hand until the drone shattered inside it. They want a war of survival, he muttered. Then we give them extinction. Back in the bunker carved into the Earth's roots, Reza lay bandaged, awake. You good? Juno asked. No, he said. But I'm angry. That's better. She handed him a cracked comms tablet. Messages poured in from surviving outposts. Tribes. War bands. Civilians with weapons. Earth heard you, she said. They're coming. Reza sat up slowly. They tried to wipe us out. And? He looked at her with eyes like iron. We just became their worst mistake. Chapter 3, The Species That Wouldn't Die. Smoke drifted over the gorge like a ghost that hadn't made peace. Reza stood at the edge, his ribs tightly bandaged, one arm in a sling, the other gripping a pulse rifle like a crutch. The jungle behind him crackled with the movement of hundreds. Soldiers. Farmers. Children with makeshift armor. Humans. They'd answered the call. New Bastion, New Dakar, Crater Town, entire pockets of Earth's broken population were converging on this valley. Reza hadn't led an army in years. Now, he wasn't leading one. He was part of one. Juno stepped beside him, wiping grease from her hands. She'd rigged a collapsed AA turret into working order. More fighters coming from Zone Echo, she reported. Said they found an old Martian dropship and decided to borrow it. Reza smirked. We borrowing the galaxy now? We're way past asking for permission. Overhead, 2 Council destroyers hovered like silent executioners. They hadn't fired yet. Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't know where to strike. Every scan they ran found ghost signals. Dummy heat trails. Decoys. KG had turned Earth's outdated tech into a hallucination. And the real prize, Genome 9, was already far downstream, protected inside Site Kilo's dormant vault. Today's battle was theater. But it had to be convincing. They'll land soon, Reza said. They're not afraid of losing ships. They're afraid of what's inside us. You mean the genome? Juno asked. No, he looked out across the jungle. The habit of surviving. Archduke Virex descended for the second time. No guards. No fanfare. Just himself in a modified command pod that dissolved upon impact, leaving no trace. He didn't need backup. He didn't trust it anymore. Last time, he'd underestimated Armitage. This time, he brought a serum synthesized from captured fragments of Genome 9. His scientists had begged him not to inject it. They didn't understand. He wasn't trying to match humanity. He was trying to beat it. He drove the needle into his own arm mid-descent. His body shuddered. Then steadied. The jungle trembled with footsteps. Not Council troops this time. Earthborn militia, moving as one. Makeshift tanks, exosuits powered by stripped drone cores, even half-functioning orbital lifters now rigged to drop boulders like meteors. Reza stood atop the wreck of an old UN lander turned into a command post. He tapped his mic. This is Commander Armitage. We're not here to die. We're here to remind them why they left Earth alone in the first place. You fight with all of it. No fear. No mercy. No retreat. The comms burst with static, then cheers. A soft voice chimed in, unexpected. "Sir, this is Mia from Crater Town," a teenage girl said nervously. "My uncle says we don't have enough ammo. He says we should stay back." Reza smiled. "You tell your uncle Earth doesn't run. We make the galaxy do that." She laughed. "Copy that, sir." At sunrise, they came. Dropships broke the clouds. The sound tore the sky open. But Earth fired first. Turrets roared. Missile launchers stitched together from scrap and forgotten blueprints unleashed hell. The Council's polished dropships met a wall of rust, fire, and spite. Reza crouched behind a barricade of steel beams and shattered solar panels. Juno knelt beside him, reloading. "They're pushing hard on the North Ridge," she said, gritting her teeth. "Our line won't hold. Pull back to the basin. Trap them in the low ground." A shell hit near them. Dirt and ash exploded. KG's voice rang out in the comms. "Reza. Our drone just spotted Virex. He's here. Alone." Reza's face hardened. "Where?" "Half a click east, headed straight for Site Kilo." Juno's eyes widened. "He knows." "Not good enough," Reza muttered. "We move." The river path to Site Kilo was thick with smoke and heat. Reza, Juno, and KG made their way fast, ducking stray plasma bursts and leaping over scorched roots. They reached the vault entrance. The AI defense system had activated, shimmering shields and humming sentry nodes lined the perimeter. Inside, Genome 9 glowed faintly through its containment glass, undisturbed. Reza raised his rifle. But Virex was already there. He stepped from behind the far wall, his armor cracked open, skin glistening with something unnatural. His left arm had fused with metal, twitching and alive. His eyes were no longer symmetrical. One glowed blue. The other, red. "You injected it," Reza said, stunned. "I improved it," Virex replied. "You humans adapt from fear. I adapt from will. You don't even understand what you've done. I understand that death should obey me." Then he lunged. Juno opened fire, but Virex moved like liquid metal. He grabbed her mid-shot, hurled her against the wall. She hit with a crunch and slid down, dazed. KG ran forward with a grenade, but Virex kicked it back. It detonated mid-air, throwing him backwards. Reza faced him, one arm useless, rifle gone. Virex sneered. "No weapon. No army. No more tricks." Reza glanced at the pod behind him. Genome 9 shimmered, reacting to the chaos. He stepped back, slowly. Lured Virex forward. "You know what scares you?" Reza said. "You used it. You tried to copy it. But you still don't understand it." "What?" "The human flaw." Reza pressed his bloody palm to the pod's emergency override. A hiss. The capsule unlocked. The fluid inside churned. Reza stepped aside. "You should have left Earth buried." Genome 9's core opened. Not a monster. Not a beast. A boy, 12, maybe 13, eyes silver, skin pulsing with light. He blinked. Then screamed. It wasn't a scream of fear. It was rage. History. Memory. Everything Earth had endured, compressed into one being. Virex raised his arm, but the boy was faster. With a flash of light and bioenergy, he launched forward, slamming into Virex's chest. Tendrils of living code wrapped around his body, dragging his synthetic enhancements apart molecule by molecule. Virex howled, mutations flickering out of control. His borrowed genome failed. It had no roots. No scars to cling to. He collapsed, dissolving in stages, first mind, then matter. When it was done, only ash remained. The boy turned to Reza. "You called me." Reza nodded slowly. "I didn't know what you were." "I'm Earth," the boy said quietly. "The part you refused to kill." Then he vanished, dissolved into particles, absorbed back into the vault. The pod resealed itself. Lights dimmed. Silence. Later, Reza sat beneath a shattered tree, the battle over. Council forces had fled. Their orbiters were gone. Earth had won. Not with numbers. Not with power. With something the galaxy still didn't understand. Persistence. Juno sat beside him, bandaged but alive. "What now?" she asked. Reza looked to the sky, open, clear for the first time in years. "We rebuild." "You think they'll come back?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Next time, we'll be ready." Far beyond Earth's system, at a hidden council summit, a report was delivered in silence. Subject: Operation Termination, failed. Genome 9, inactive but uncontained. Commander Armitage, alive. Human threat level, elevated. Recommendation: cease direct conflict. Engage containment strategy. A senator hissed. "Why not destroy them entirely?" Another voice, ancient and wary, replied. "You cannot kill what refuses to die." Chapter 4, The Quiet Rebellion. Weeks passed. The sky above Earth no longer shimmered with enemy ships. No bombardments. No patrols. Silence. The kind that wasn't peace, just a break between storms. In the underground chambers of New Bastion, Reza Armitage stood in front of a cracked mirror, threading the last buckle of his combat vest. The medics had warned him not to strain. Fractured ribs. Internal bruising. Nerve damage in his left arm. He moved anyway. Scars didn't slow down people like him. They just became maps. Juno entered behind him. "The council hasn't retaliated." "Not yet," Reza replied. "They're waiting. Watching. They're not used to bleeding this way." She leaned against the doorframe. "So we won?" He looked at her through the mirror. "You don't win against fear. You survive it longer than the other guy." Up on the surface, near the ruins of what used to be Rawalpindi's orbital elevator, workers, teenagers, war orphans, engineers, rebuilt antennas. Broadcasting gear. An old Earth flag stitched from heat shields waved in the wind. KG directed cables into place, hollering through static. A boy handed him a comlink. "It's from Europa Resistance. They say they heard the signal." KG grinned. "Then we're not alone anymore." Every transmission that reached another Terran offshoot wasn't just a message. It was defiance. It was Earth whispering, "We're still here." At the Council's inner ring, the mood had shifted. Not fear. Not yet. Unease. Reports flooded in on rebellions in the outer colonies. Uprisings. Civilian protests in species known for submission. Murmurs about Earth. About humans who didn't collapse when starved of resources or left to rot. "They think the Terrans are symbols," growled Chancellor Drav. "Primitive icons of chaos." "They are," spat another. "And we made them." Virex's seat remained empty. It had been sterilized. No one spoke of what became of him. Officially, he was lost in action. Unofficially, he was a warning. At the edge of the Sahara glass wastes, Reza stood beside a makeshift podium, surrounded by militia, teachers, scavengers, scientists, even ex-council defectors. It wasn't a military assembly. It was a congress. The first in over a century. Juno handed him a transmitter. He stepped forward and looked out across the gathering. Tired faces. Some smiling. Most not. But all standing. "All of you already know what this is," he said. "It's not about revenge. We don't need to destroy the galaxy. We just need to outlast it. One planet. One people. And a story they tried to erase." Silence followed. Then applause, raw and unpracticed. It echoed off the glass-shattered dunes. Juno stepped beside him after. "You're a terrible speechwriter." "Yeah. But they listened." Deep beneath New Bastion, Site Kilo remained sealed. Inside, the boy from Genome 9 floated in cryosuspension. He wasn't sleeping. He was watching. Cameras monitored every neuron spark. AI relays translated every synaptic twitch. He wasn't human. But he remembered everything they were. Pain. Loss. Rage. Hope. The vault's lights pulsed gently as a new protocol initiated. Genome 9, Phase 2, Sentinel Protocol activated. Objective, observe. Learn. Evolve. Protect. A month later, Reza and Juno stood on the edge of the Indian Ocean. The water was bluer than he remembered. Less ash. Less fire. You think they'll come again? She asked. They might. And if they don't? Reza exhaled. Then we outgrow them. Juno skimmed a stone across the waves. We've never been good at peace. We're not at peace, Reza said. We're at the part where everyone stops shooting to catch their breath. They watched the sun sink behind the horizon, its golden light brushing the crumbled skyline. Earth wasn't beautiful. But it was alive. And that was enough. In the months that followed, the name Armitage began to appear on hidden frequencies. Not as a warning, but as a code. A password. A rally cry. In the edges of the galaxy, quiet rebellions moved. Stations refused to log genetic purity reports. Shipyards slipped Terran-engineered parts into clean council designs. Refugees tattooed Earth's shattered emblem onto their forearms. A new network formed. Not military. An idea. The species that wouldn't die had become something more dangerous than a fleet. They had become myth. And myths moved quietly, right until they didn't. 1 year later, in the void of space near the banned Terran exclusion zone, a cargo vessel went dark. Emergency beacons flared. No council forces responded. When scavengers reached it, the crew was gone. But one phrase had been burned into the walls, written in 3 languages. You thought we were ashes. We were the fuse. Back on Earth, beneath a sky no longer watched by alien eyes, Reza sat with Juno, KG, and a handful of new recruits beside a campfire. They weren't planning war. They were telling stories. You ever think about the First War? KG asked. Reza nodded. Too often. What was the worst part? Reza poked the fire with a rusted blade. Thinking we were alone. He looked around the fire. Faces lit by flame. Some scarred, some smiling. We're not anymore, Juno said softly. No, Reza agreed. Now we're what they fear. He leaned back, watching the stars above. The same stars that once judged Earth unworthy. Now, Earth was writing new rules. Not for dominance. For endurance. For the right to exist. And this time, no one was asking permission.